My friends, welcome to Leadership Synergized, a space where we share stories of purpose, perseverance, and the power of faith at work in the lives of everyday leaders. It is my profound honor to introduce this conversation, one that will reach far beyond the game of baseball and life into the heart of what it means to live with faith, to lead with love, and to carry forward a legacy shaped by loss and hope. Today's episode is a sacred one indeed. It's not just about leadership on the field, in the office, but about a father's journey through heartbreak, healing, and the unexpected grace of God revealed through the voice of a child. Our guest is Coach Rich Donnelly, a man who spent more than 5 decades in the world of baseball, coaching, leading, and mentoring at the highest levels of the game. But as Coach Donnelly will tell you himself, it wasn't the World Series championship or the years in the dugout that shaped his heart and shaped his soul. It was the strength and faith of his daughter, Amy. Years before he would find himself waving home the winning run in Game 7 of the 1997 World Series, Amy spoke a simple, playful phrase that seemed to carry little weight at the time. But when Amy's life was tragically cut short, that comment, now sacred, would become a message from heaven, reminding her father of God's presence even in the most triumphant moments of life. In this powerful and deeply moving conversation, Coach Donnelly opens his heart and shares how God used Amy's life and her passing to grow his faith, reshape his values, and teach him the true meaning of giving, purpose, and legacy. My friends, this is a story of a father who found strength on his knees while his baseball family celebrated a World Series title. A coach who discovered that winning in life is about far more than what happens on the field. And a daughter whose faith continues to inspire and lead through her father's voice. So join us, lean in, and let your heart be open as we step into a story of faith, family, and the goodness of God, even in the hardest of places. Here is my conversation with Coach Rich Donnelly. Leadership Synergized, once again with Coach Rich Donnelly, longtime baseball professional player. And Coach Donnelly, again, thank you for being with us. And we've spent a lot of time getting to know you. And last episode, we deep dived into the faith piece and the challenges you faced. And, you talk in the book, and I know you've talked in previous and other interviews about, how parents many times are heroes to children, but how your children have been your heroes in life. And, in a scope aspect, I relate to that directly. My wife and I talk often of how we have grown and matured through our sons and their wives and now our grandchildren. And it's something that I guess we never really anticipated being touched in that manner, but we both sense we're growing more from them than they ever did for us. And in many ways, your story resonates for anyone because none of us live a perfect life. And it's maybe when we try to live that perfect life, we move away from God. But we talked about the book and introduced it in the previous episodes by Tom Friend, The Chicken Runs at Midnight, with the subtitle, A Daughter's Message from Heaven That Changed a Father's Heart. You're that father and won a World Series. That all comes from your daughter, Amy. Share Amy with us. Introduce her to us.
Well, just a background. My first wife, Peggy, and I, we had 4 kids, 3 boys and Amy. And the boys were always the center of my attention. I wanted them all to be ball players, football or basketball, football, whatever. One ended up being a kicker. One ended up being college basketball. One ended up college baseball. And then there was Amy. She sort of got pushed off to the side. And I was always known as a tough player, played hard, hustled all the time, grounded out. And I wanted my boys to be like that. Girls' sports weren't very big like they are now. So Amy was like over on the side. Like, Amy, we're playing. Could you move over here? Amy, we're playing basketball. Could you take your dolls and play over here? And real quick, what I didn't realize, like I said, till later when Amy got sick and passed away, I wanted my boys to be like me. There was nobody in my family. I found out from my boys, there was no one in my family like me more than Amy. And again, I missed it. So I can say my first wife, Peggy, was great. When I got to the big leagues, I started living the big league life, going out, and did things I shouldn't do, ran around, and and then Amy found out, and for about, this is hard to believe, we didn't talk for 6 months. She hated me, and I got divorced, moved back. I moved from Arlington back to Pittsburgh, and we didn't talk for a long time. Then gradually, we started getting back closer together. I met my second wife, Roberta, who I've been married to for 31 years. And now you run into a problem. I got 4 kids. I have a girlfriend who I'm going to marry, and she has 4 kids. How are we going to combine these families and make everybody like one another? And Amy came up to visit us in Pittsburgh one time, and I've got my fingers crossed that she'll like Roberta. She's a Bible translator and taught me more about faith than anybody. And I prayed that she would like Roberta and Roberta would like her. Well, one day we're driving home from the game in Pittsburgh, and she's coming back to me, and we're starting to be daughter and father again. And we're driving back, and it's Roberta's birthday. And I didn't even know Amy knew about it. And she said, Dad, we got to stop here at the store before we go home. I said, what are we going to stop for? She goes, we got to buy Roberta a present. And that just brought me to my knees. I was hoping they'd like one another. It was more than that. Amy, who hated me, couldn't stand me. Now I have a girlfriend, wife to be, and I go, oh boy, this ain't going to work. Well, guess what? It worked. And when she said we got to get Roberta a present, I just took a deep breath. I said, thank you, Lord. And now we're back together again. So anyway, everything was fine. End up marrying Roberta and go to spring training with the Pirates. And Amy's with her mom down in Arlington. And one spring training day, I'm sitting on the floor watching, I think I was watching NCAA basketball, and I get a call from Amy. And she goes, Dad. Yeah, Amy, how you doing? Good. She said, I got something I got to tell you, and don't be mad. She goes, I have a brain tumor, and I'm sorry. And she was apologizing for getting a brain tumor because she knew that would get me. And so I took a deep breath. And if you've ever been kicked in the mouth or punched in the stomach, that's what I was. And 3 days later, I flew to Arlington. She had the surgery in Dallas, and her mom was there, of course. And the doctor came in after, and he wanted to meet with us. And he said, Rich, she has a brain tumor in a bad spot behind her eye, and we can't get it out. And the prognosis is she has 9 months to live. And I remember just walking out in the parking lot. I just walked right out of the office. I walked out in the parking lot, cried my eyes out. Wanted to scream at God, but I couldn't. I said, I got a lot of nerve screaming at him for the way I've been acting. And like I say, Peggy and I, we weren't together, but we were there together with our daughter. And Amy had the surgery, and I walked in the day after, and she had a big plate in her head, and oh my God, it wasn't my daughter. And she says, come here. You got to know Amy. And she goes, you get your butt out of here and get back to Pittsburgh and get in the World Series, and I'll see you in the summer. That's how That's Amy. She was concerned about me getting to the World Series, and she's got a plate in her head. And they just took half her head out, and she's worrying about me in baseball. So as the summer goes, we invited Jim Leland. Says, if we get in the playoffs, Amy, you're coming, because she was getting chemo in Texas. So one day, her and her friend Cindy, they flew up to Pittsburgh for the fifth game of the playoffs. We're playing the Braves, and we won. And she has to go back the next day. But after the game, in the car, she said, Dad, when there's a man on second, you're coaching third, and you cup your hands, what are you telling those guys? The chicken runs at midnight or what? And I'm going, what the heck is that, Amy? And all the kids, my son Tim was in a car, and we're laughing. I goes, where'd you come up with that one? She goes, I don't know. Chicken runs at midnight? That make no sense. So she goes back to Arlington, and that was like October. Okay, so November, December, January, she goes, she's getting her chemo, and she lapses into a coma. And I go down there, and I stay in the hospital for about 15 straight days. They had a place where the parents could stay, and I did. And one morning, the doctor came and got me about 4 in the morning. He says, Rich, I want you to come in and say goodbye to your daughter. She's not going to make it. And I can't tell you how small you feel as a human being. And I went in, and she was in a coma, but she could hear, they tell me. And I told her how much I loved her, how much everything she did for us. What else do you say? So we chose to honor her by putting that chicken runs at midnight statement was like our family motto that year. And we signed letters, CRAM and all that. And we ended up putting it on our gravestone. And, chicken runs at midnight. And we didn't think anything of it. We just put it on there, laughed about it. And that became our family motto. And that was 1992. So 5 years later, Jim Leland gets the manager's job in Miami. And he says, come on, Rich, we're going to Miami. So we leave Pittsburgh, we go to Miami. Didn't have any idea what kind of team we'd have. And about halfway through the season, we acquired a second baseman named Craig Counsell, who's now the manager of the Chicago Cubs. And Counts had a batting stance where he flapped his arms like a chicken. And Tim and Mike, Amy's brothers, were the bat boys, and they nicknamed him the Chicken Man. I thought nothing of it. Nobody thought anything of it. So lo and behold, we get in the playoffs. We get in the World Series. The 11th inning, we're playing the Indians, tie game. Craig Counsell's on third base. I'm coaching right there next to him. Edgar Renteria gets a base hit up the middle. We are the world champions. Bill Mazeroski has come back.
Yeah, because that's game 7, right?
Game 7, yeah, just like Maz. And I just couldn't believe it. It's like an out-of-body experience, I tell people. And when the game was over, we had 75,000 people there. People were on the field. The policemen were there with horses. Everybody's hugging everybody like you see on TV. Big dog pal, second base. And my son, Tim, I see him he's running at me. He's a bat boy in uniform. And he's screaming, he's crying. I said, what are you crying about? We won. He said, Dad, look behind you. I said, what do you mean, look? He said, look at the stadium clock. It was 12:02 midnight. He said, Dad, Craig Counsell, the chicken, ran at midnight. And I dropped to my knees. And the first thing I thought of was a story about Saul in the Bible, that he was knocked off his high horse. He later became Paul. I don't know why I thought about that. I was knocked off. I was knocked off my high horse. I couldn't believe it. I was totally limp. Craig Counsell, the chicken ran at midnight. Something she said that made no sense happened. And it changed my whole life. I tell people all the time, I'm a third base coach. That's what I did. Well, what's my job? Is to wave people where? Home. And in my life, I was running the bases. In my life, and I was out of the baseline, I needed to be waved home. And I needed a third base coach to wave me home. Well, my third base coach, I had two of them. I had Amy and I had my wife. Mm. And they both straightened me out and waved me back home, and home in my mind where I was the same person I was when I was 8 or 9 years old. And sometimes I feel like, the Lord's talking to you, but you ain't listening, like your parents sometimes. And I felt like after that, he had put both of his hands, he looked me right in the eye and put both of his hands on my shoulders and shook me. Like, are you going to wake up or not? And boy, did I wake up. And that's the story. And like I say, it's I tell people, I hope you don't have to go through what I had to go through to get to get that result.
Coach, thank you for sharing. That is powerful, and I've got chills hearing you tell it. I had chills reading it in the book. Just a powerful story of faith and God in control, right? As you said, not
well,
to be.
Yeah. I mean, the whole story is a miracle story. It's just a miracle. You can't make this up. When I tell the story, I did the book. The guy Tom Fran, he was crying, and we're talking. We're in negotiations now to do a movie, and the people go, "Did that really happen?" I go, "Yeah, it really happened." I said, "It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, this could only happen to me. I'm so goofy." And I said, "This could only happen to me where your daughter passes away. If she's not speaking to you, and then she becomes your best friend again, and then this happens, and you get to go to your goal, and you lose your daughter, and then years later, of course, I lost my son Michael, he was pushing a car across the road in Texas, and a girl, he was unknown. I mean, he didn't even know the girl. He saw a car come around the bend, about 80 miles an hour. He grabbed the girl, threw her out of the way, saved her life, and he was hit and killed immediately. And then my other two daughters, Tiffany and Leanne, they were at the Las Vegas shooting when that nut shot everybody from the Mandalay Bay. The bullet went between Tiffany and Leanne and hit the girl in front of them, total stranger, in the face. They laid down on top of her for 15 minutes of shooting till the paramedics came and saved her life. So I tell I tell parents all the time, be careful, guys. You're supposed to teach your kids, but be careful. Your kids may be teaching you, because in my family, it was the other way around. I didn't do a very good job at teaching them, but they did a heck of a job at teaching me.
And Coach Donnelly, you bring up the term teaching, and in the book you share that at a young age, Amy was a teacher. She would gather neighborhood kids, her younger brother Tim, and she set up a classroom in the family garage, and it was almost as if she was being prepared to teach some tougher lessons. And if I recall properly, and please, I'm not trying to tell your story, so if I'm wrong, correct me, but when she learned of the brain tumor, she was getting ready to engage in her senior year, and she's planning to go to college to become an educator.
Yeah, she got in her senior year. I tell people this story. I said, my daughter, she taught me how to live and she taught me how to die. In her last year, all she cared about was me, the Pirates, her friend Cindy, and how we were going to do. She knew she was going to die, but she wanted to make sure we were okay. I still have letters. I just pulled one out the other day. My son Michael had a lot of problems. She must have wrote him 10,000 letters telling him, you're a good kid, everything's going to be okay. She's dying. She's dying in a hospital. She's writing letters trying to help her brother, trying to help me, trying to help everybody else. She didn't give two hoots about her dying. I mean, look, good Lord. And that's why I say she and in her last 9 months, she was the happiest girl in the world. She knew she was going to die, and all she wanted was everybody else to be successful and be happy. And I think of that all the time when I think I got a problem or my knee hurts or my elbow hurts. I laugh. Here's a girl that's dying, getting chemo, and you're in the prime of your life, 17 years old. She never got to go to her high school graduation. All the good stuff, the proms, the dances. She never got to go to none of that, and yet she wasn't bitter. She was worried about me. She's worried about me and the Pirates. She's worried about her brother kicking. She's worried about her other brother playing basketball. She's worried about her other brother playing baseball. She's worried about her mom. She's worried about Roberta, her stepmom. She's worried about everybody else. And I'm saying, are you kidding me? And that's why anytime I think I have a problem, I just think of her and my problem goes away. Because if she could do that, knowing she's going to die, then I sure as hell can handle whatever I got to do.
Well, Coach, thank you for sharing Amy with us. Coach Rich Donnelly talking about his daughter Amy and his children and the impact that they've had on him and changing his life. And as he said, dropping to his knees. And for individuals that maybe haven't seen it, I was watching the game live in 1997. And if I recall right, Coach, the only person jumping higher from you as Craig Counsell was scoring was Craig Counsell himself, I think. If I'm not mistaken, you're in the background jumping just about as high as Craig Counsell was, recognizing what was about to happen in Miami.
Yeah, we're two white guys that can't jump very high, but that night we could outjump anybody. That was like, it's surreal. It's like it's Bill Mazeroski. All these kids growing up that have a favorite team or player, and that team wins a championship. And then guess what? 30 years later, you get to experience it. Are you kidding me? You get to be in a major league ballpark, not church league softball. This is the big leagues. And the Pirates were the home team, and they won it, and we were the home team, and we won it at our last at bats. If my mom was alive when we did it, she'd have been throwing that spaghetti off the ceiling again.
And she may have had anyways, right?
Exactly.
A better place than we're
in
at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coach Donnelly, thank you again for sharing. I want to come back and just build a little bit further on the impact Amy had, and then talk about, Coach Donnelly, how you've used this story and Amy's teaching and your children's heroics to help better the lives. Thank you so very much for joining us on this unforgettable journey with Coach Rich Donnelly. If his story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of the quiet ways God shows up in our lives, please share this episode, subscribe to Leadership Synergized, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, walking in faith, and listening for the sacred whispers along the way. May God bless you, and may the chicken always run at midnight.